Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $1 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. I want to remind everybody we're South Florida's longest running business talk show. We're in our 13th year now. And I'm sorry, everybody, I got that COVID-19 lockdown haircut going. We've got a tremendous show for you today. Our old friend Charles Foschini is going to join us. He's going to talk about the capital markets and how he's doing big deals with big money. We're going to start off with an unusual twist. We're going to have Kathie Klarreich, and I'm sure I butchered her name, but we're going to talk about how she teaches poetry in the prisons, but really the focus is going to be on what's going on with COVID-19 in the prisons. It's a real issue. It's something we're going to talk about and shed some light on. And then, like I said, we're going to have Charles Foschini, the Florida co-leader of the Berkadia practice, talking about big deals and big money. So take it away. We'll be right back with great information you'll be able to use to make your life better today. Reagan? Said before, we are South Florida's longest running business talk show, and I want to give a shout out to all the first responders and healthcare heroes out there. But I'll tell you, I was over there today seeing Larry and Eric and the rest of the team. Boy, I just love that new store they've got up on a Biscayne and 151st Street. Warren Henry, that's who I'm talking about. When you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar. Up in Gainesville, they sell Audis. Down in the Keys, they've got them all, including the great Jeeps and everything like that down there. So, what do they all have in common? They're all great cars, and they all come with the Warren Henry Advantage. That means you get complimentary service loaner, dynamic wheel protection, key replacement, the guaranteed purchase offer, best value guarantee, and the 72-hour exchange. That means you have 3 days to tell whether or not you'll love your car. You will. Hey, that's right. Join me, my wife, and my beautiful wife, Vivian. We're all members. Oh, let me start again. Join me, my mom. That's right, my mom, and my beautiful wife, Vivian. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best service, always the best price, always Warren Henry. Everybody, give me a call at 305-773-6300 if I can help you out with your commercial real estate. Right now, I've got a tremendous bridge lender. They're looking to fill the void where the equity has left the market. These guys will come in. They will charge debt. They will create a debt structure, and then you can keep all the upside on your deal. I'm doing 2 deals with them right now. Additionally, I'm doing residential mortgages with a lot of my friends, including some foreign nationals. So if you're looking to buy your house, refinance your house to take advantage of these low rates, or you need a bridge loan to get you to the next cycle, give me a call at 305-773-6300. Why? Because when you call me, it's all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
All right, I want to thank my good friend Lisa Payton for introducing me to Kathie Klarreich. Kathie, did I get that right? Got to unmute Kathie.
Yeah.
Kathie, did I get that right?
You got that right. Thank you.
Awesome. You know, we advertise as talking about pandemic-inspired poetry, but that's really not what we're going to talk about today. Kathie goes to the prisons. She's a normal person like us. She's not a felon or anything like that. She's just a teacher that goes to the prisons, and we want to hear what she sees. It's heartbreaking, but it's information we need to bring to the table. Okay?
So Yeah, so I actually have not been inside the prison since March 11th when they put a lockdown in order to try and protect the people on the inside from getting infected. So they stopped family members from coming in about a week or so before that. So since then, no one outside the employment of the Department of Corrections is actually going inside. So all the information that I'm going to give you, Jim, is information that I've learned from people who work there or people who have written us about what's happening inside or from the media. So let me just start by saying all of the protections that we can have on the outside are very difficult to have on the inside for obvious reasons. So social distancing inside a prison, non-existent. People live in 6 by 9 foot cells. You usually got 2 people inside, or you live in an open bay dorm where you're side by side with 60 other people. So the very easiest precaution to take, it's not going to work. And Florida's got the 3rd largest prison population in the country. We've got 94,000 people that are incarcerated, and we're now 2nd in the country for the number of people infected.
Wow. So I've seen that there have been prison guards that are also getting infected and dying. Are there any available statistics or places where people can go to look this up?
Yeah, so there's about 24,000 employees from the Department of Correction, and about 2,000 of them are infected. The Florida Department of Corrections website has a listing every day that will update the number of people who are infected in the various prisons within the state. But the Marshall Project has probably the best information. It gives you a state by state. It also gives you the overall number of people who are infected in prisons throughout the country. And unfortunately, the statistics are showing it's going up at about 10% per week of number infected. So since July, well, at least in the state of Florida, we've had 45 people die inside our prisons and 20 in just the last 2 weeks. So it's getting much worse. It's not getting better.
So who is addressing this? Are they, I mean, what's going on? This is ridiculous. Misdemeanor shouldn't be a death penalty.
So this is one of the problems, is that Florida's governor has said from day one, and has not shifted his position, is that he will not be releasing people. So that seems like an obvious, easy solution. If your release date is coming up, or if you're eligible for parole, if you have a minor crime, let people out early, so at least we can reduce the population a little bit. So that's one of the main things that can happen that is not happening. Other things, it's really difficult. The only way people are getting infected is by officers and staff coming in and out, right? Because once you're inside, it's a closed environment. Whatever it is that we're doing is not working very well because the numbers continue to increase.
So do they have a program to address this? What's going on? Who's watching this?
Well, the Florida Department of Corrections would say that they are, they're doing the best that they can. I think it got out of control and has never really gotten back on track. You have some prisons where there's maybe 1 or 2 people who are infected, but you also have prisons. I mean, one of our prisons, I think, has 1,300 people out of the 2,000 that are in that institution that have been infected. So I can't tell you what's going to work, but I can tell you what is not working, which is this current system. I also know that when, say, an individual section of a dorm is infected, they wait a couple weeks and then they release people back out onto the compound, but they don't check to see whether or not those people are negative. So they're reinfecting each other.
So what would be a solution that you could suggest here?
I don't know, because how do you live in a bubble? I mean, it works for the national basketball, right, where people are all in the Disney compound and they're living in a bubble. But you can't ask officers to live on the compound. That's just not a realistic solution. So people will be coming in and out, and I'm not faulting anyone. I mean, I feel horrible that there have been deaths among the officers as well. And I think within the state of Florida, we've had, how many deaths? We've had a couple deaths of officers just in the last couple weeks as well. There has to be better protocols for people coming in and out and checking so that you're not bringing it inside and then you're also not bringing it outside. When people are released from the system, they're also being released back out into the general population without any safety measures to make sure that they are quarantined before they are released. So, I mean, it's a constant turnover of potential infections.
You know, there's really nothing you could say about all this other than that we have to treat everybody like a human being, even if they've made a mistake. And I've got to believe that many people have made a mistake. You know, like I said, don't need to have a death sentence just because they've been sentenced to prison or even the stockade. So I've got to believe that we need better protocols, like you said, and we need a little bit of a focus on this. Now, is there a difference between the public confinement facilities and the private facilities?
No, and in fact, it's very interesting because in the very beginning, when COVID broke out in the prisons, it was the prisons that are privatized that had the largest number of infections in the beginning. Part of that may be, and I'm really supposing, I have no information, is that people may not know this, but the prisons in Florida are not air conditioned. So just imagine you're in a dorm or a two-person cell without any air conditioning. The prisons that are privatized actually do have air conditioning, and it may be that some of the virus was circulating through the vent systems. I don't know that. But Jim, I want to go back to something that you said in the very beginning when you introduced me and the topic, and you said I was like a normal person, that I was not a felon. One of the misperceptions, I think, about people who are incarcerated is that they are not normal people, right? And we like to think of them as being criminals. And for the most part, people have committed a crime, and their punishment is that they are now locked away. But the other human rights that should be afforded them, the right to education, the right to healthcare, they are wards of our state. And the punishment is that they are no longer circulating freely. But those other conditions, those other human rights should be afforded to them while they are incarcerated. And that falls back onto the state. So if we are not taking care of their health care, that is a statewide issue.
Yeah, I want to thank you for pointing that out. And I wanted to get to the point that they are wards of the state, because that is important to me. You take away their rights so they can't do anything for themselves. You've got to take care of them. If you don't, then it's bad on you. You know, our society can only be judged by how we handle the weakest and most at risk. And we're creating a weakness and a risk for this population. And it's not fair that we don't give them the chance to be safe in our care.
Yeah, I mean, we as I think you said it really well. And also we as a community, they are part of our community. They are separated. And the one thing that I can say that COVID has done is to shine a light on what's happening on the inside, because for the most part, those walls, that barbed wire, that we keep their voices away. So part of what our organization is trying to do is to bring their voices on the outside so that we're not talking about them, but we're letting them speak for themselves. So if you were interested in finding out more about what they have to say and you go to our website, you can read what they're writing about now. And we're in the process of doing a call for submissions across the country for a book that's going to be called the COVID Collection, that will be stories told by people who are incarcerated and their family members about what's happening during this period.
You know, it's very difficult to imagine, because sometimes, and I don't want to belittle the situation, I feel incarcerated in my room, in my apartment. I can't leave. I can't go anywhere. My wife is compromised. Today I celebrated the fact that I actually went to the car dealer for a meeting.
Yeah, and imagine.
I felt normal.
Yeah.
Normal.
So these men and women have not seen their family members in more than 5 months, have no access to the outside. all of the programs, including programs like ours, which bring education inside, religious programs, activities, being able to go out and exercise, those are all taken away from them. People who are in quarantine inside the prison are not even allowed out to go eat their meals. So they're being brought bag lunches and dinners, which consist of peanut butter sandwiches and bologna sandwiches, which is not nutritious for somebody who, in general, right? But certainly not for grown adults.
Well, I think that the entire prison system and concept is something that we can discuss significantly on extensive programs and still not get something that works. We don't usually talk politics, but I think it's telling that we have an enormous prison population in the United States. I think it's something that we have to take a look at, and we have to take a look at the fact that it's really tilted in a particular direction that probably is not where it should be. So I think that we're grudgingly taking a look at the issue. Hopefully as a society we'll be able to address it better. It's obvious that issues that touch on this are tearing our country apart right now. So I hope that we can all come together and have a better understanding of it. I want to thank you so much for coming and telling our audience about people that you have met in the past and that you'll hopefully again meet in the future. And thank you so much for bringing their voices outside for us to hear.
Thanks for the opportunity, Jim. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. And I want to again thank Lisa Paley for putting us together today.
Me too. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, we're going to be back with Charles Foschini, which I never say right. I never get any of these names right. So Charles Foschini and I will be talking about real estate capital markets after this. He's got some incredible things to tell you about the deals that he's closed and the fact that the market is open. So stick with us. We're going to bring some more positive energy here to your day. So Reagan, take it away, and Charles will be back after this break talking about real estate capital markets with me. Rock on. Thank you again so much, Kath. Like to say we are South Florida's longest running business talk show. We've been on for 12 or 13 years now. I just love it. It's great. And I want to thank our sponsors, Warren Henry Automotive. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Warren. Thank you, Eric. And everybody, remember, when you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar. Up in Gainesville, they sell Audi. Down in the Keys, they sell them all. What do they have in common? Well, they're all great cars, and they come with the Warren Henry advantage. That means you get a complimentary service loaner, dynamic wheel protection, key replacement, guaranteed repurchase offer, best value guarantee, and the 72-hour exchange. You can take 3 full days to make certain you love your Warren Henry car. So join me, my mom, and my beautiful wife, Vivian. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best service, always the best price, always Warren Henry.
Carlson from Carlson Integrated. You know, a lot of our clients find that they can do anything, but not really everything. We are always excited to jump in and help. So whether you need another set of hands for a project or even comprehensive marketing management, our team of marketing mavens would love to have a conversation with you to see if we are the right fit. We do everything from logo and design work to email outreach and social media to writing and thought leadership. And here's a fun one. We are now offering our fabulous ebook of top 10 marketing tips on our website for free. So head over to carlsonintegrated.com and grab a copy today. And please always let us know how we can help. My email is Becca, that's BEKAH @carlsonintegrated.com. That's BEKAH at carlsonintegrated.com.
Oh, that's just tremendous. That woman has to come on our show more often, Reagan. I just love that ad. Hey, everybody, when you're needing some cash for real estate, we're going to be talking to Charles Foschini in a second. He's going to talk about the big deals he's doing. We do big deals here, too. I do a lot of private deals. I've got one bridge lender now that we're talking about a $31 million bridge loan. One guy makes the decision he's going to close, God willing, and move on down the road. We've got other lenders that are doing home loans with us. That's right. You can still get a jumbo loan, but you better hurry. The market's deteriorating quickly, and it's not that easy to do. Guys, folks that are looking for loans under $500,000 that are Fannie and Freddie conforming, well, I'm getting those deals done in less than 3 weeks, and those people are getting loans with rates that have a 2 in front of them. So call me at 305-773-6300. I can help you finance your real estate, residential or commercial. Foreigners, got them too, financing them too. So give me a call at 305-773-6300 or email me, Jim@FreedomBusiness. Why? Because when you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freedom Business. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Jim Freed or at Freedom Business, and on Instagram at JimFreed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
We are back, and we are with my good friend, Charles Foschini. Is it okay if I call you my good friend, Charles?
You call me your good friend, Jim.
Thank you. That makes me feel better. Charles and I have been friends for a long time. We actually got to build our relationship at the class where we go for our NMLS degree. So Charles is there when I'm learning about how to do home loans. Charles is learning about, what are you learning about there? I guess how to do home loans too.
I am doing the obligatory state and national required continuing education. So that's what I've been doing. This year it's going to be a little different, socially distanced. I might have to do it online. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I really am going to miss Dan. He's tremendous. But let's talk a little bit about what you've got going on, because really what you've got is government assistance for the commercial real estate developer, it almost seems like, given rates and terms. Tell us a little bit about the deal you just did with the big life company that was really interesting. And then let's talk a little bit about your government agency business that you and Chris do over there.
Sure. I'll tell you, in the last cycle, when I kind of looked around the room and capital was really replete, the only government subsidy I qualified for was Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. So I learned that business from a standing start, and I was very thankful I did for a commercial guy that's made a lot of big commercial loans, because in this downturn, that's the only reliable capital that stayed in the room. You talked about it for your residential single-family home business. It's equally true in the large apartment communities behind you on your screensaver there. When, at the end of World War II, Freddie and Fannie, both for home loans and for multifamily, I think it came out of FDR, but the theory was, if you had a safe place for folks to live and a reliable long-term source of capital for them, they would become a productive populace and hence the greatest generation. In this downturn, that's proven to give a lot of stability where there's many unknowns. And so that has changed in the way that they make the loan, and the underwriting has gotten a little more conservative for the moment in time that we're in. But they are very liable. I can close a loan in the commercial field in probably 45 days for a repeat client. A lot of our deals have 2s in front of them as well, or very low 3%. And so it's an exceptional time to recapitalize and lend stability to the capital part of the real estate ownership.
You know, the most important thing, though, is that values are holding up. Are the values holding up because the financing is engineered, or is it because of the strength of the investment?
So I would not suggest that the financing is engineered. In the last cycle, if you called me, I would just say, how much do you want to borrow? It was almost, I picked my lender by the next guy that called me on the phone. So it was a very fluid process. In this cycle, the underwriting has been very consistent. It's been very thoughtful. It's been very conservative. And that has continued, whereas in January, I could close a loan with Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae with no reserves for principal and interest. It's now a part of almost every loan that's above 50% leverage. So there's absolutely underwriting coming to play that is sound and supportable. I believe what you're referencing is comparables. And what we've seen in the last 2 quarters, very much true in commercial and to a large extent, but there are some trades in residential, is almost a complete stopping of transactions as the capital markets digested the pandemic and some of the other issues we face this year as a country and as a planet. So the comparables today are based on trades that bulk of which happened in 19 and early 2020. How much longer that continues is anybody's guess. So right now we have exceptional underwriting, great rates, and we have 2019 and early 2020 comparables.
It's very similar to the residential mortgage market. The appraisers, they look at the most recent past. And so while there's this moratorium on foreclosures, there's no real foreclosures. So you've got great rates, great underwriting, pretty good execution. The super jumbo market's pretty gone, though, because people aren't going to let themselves hang out that far, I think, on a really big deal. So, again, we're going to wait for, I would call it value discovery.
Yeah, well, I would add a big distinguishing factor between commercial and residential is in single-family homes, there is no NOI, right? It's your ability to work and to pay the mortgage. In multifamily and then in commercial assets, there's minimum 1 year to as much as 10 or 15-year leases, and then there's the credit of the tenant. And those things all play a dynamic in creating the operating income of an asset, which would support a mortgage.
Well said. I agree with you completely. So we're talking here multifamily, Charles. Is there any support out there for any of the other product types? I got to figure industrial's okay. Retail, selective? How are they going under the hood on retail right now?
Yeah, I would tell you that multifamily continues to be a very strong asset class, largely because of Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. The same way they came up with some new parts of their program, you mentioned the inability to evict people, they were the first to come up with a forbearance program. So you could close a loan on Monday, theoretically, and then Tuesday apply for forbearance. It's very interesting and really unprecedented that would occur. And that allowed the multifamily as an asset class to continue to move forward and to continue to have value. When it comes to commercial, you really need to distinguish between the other 3 major food groups, which are industrial, retail, and office. Office and industrial have long-term contractual leases most time, as does retail. But industrial has been perceived to be the darling of this pandemic, largely because of logistics. I mean, think of how much you purchased on Amazon or through the internet during the time of COVID when you couldn't go to the store except for a grocery purchase.
Our dynamic.
Yeah, and so that has kept that market fluid. We've closed a nice industrial portfolio in March in Michigan, but it's not without its wrinkles. Office generally has long-term contracts. A lot of time those long-term contracts are backed by credit and those types of tenants. But a lot of folks, myself included, we're not going to our office right now. And so people look at this moment in time and say, is this going to cause a dramatic shift in how people use office space? And they may or may not be as excited to lend on it in the long term. When it comes to retail, unless it's grocery anchored with very strong sales, it's virtually impossible to get a retail loan today. And if you do have a grocery anchored center, there's phenomenal rates out there with life companies. But even then, they're, to use your words, getting very deep under the hood and taking a look at every single tenant, how that tenant is performing, what the sales are, what those sales are expected to be. And, we have some banks that are active that we've identified in all asset classes. They're really more neighborhood and community style than what I'm typically used to. But those are the folks that understand that, your local dry cleaner, your local restaurant, your local Publix, they're not going anywhere. They need to be there to serve the people. And many times those same banks probably serve those same tenants in terms of their operating businesses.
Yeah, what I'm finding out is that the community banks are in business. PPP really helped them. It opened up a bunch of doors for them. I'll give myself as a personal example. PPP, I got it from Valley National, Kevin Milliff. High five to Valley National and Kevin Milliff for helping me out on that. And so I've driven a couple of deals at Valley National now, both real small. I have one client that's got about $1 million requirement for a 4-bay shopping center, so they're going to help me with that. And then I've also got the only restaurant type that I think is financeable on the planet right now, a pizza parlor.
I think pizza is always a big thing, being Italian, but they've actually done much better in this environment because they were always largely takeout and delivery service.
Yep, the guy's numbers actually went up. So he wants to expand, and we're going to work on a commissary. Again, it's just about $1 million industrial deal, but these are the deals that are getting done. I'm getting calls on these deals that are for people's personal businesses that are strong. And so while everybody talks about the cloud that's hanging over us, the reality is that there will also be opportunities. I'm going to take a break right here, gives Charles a chance to think about it. Charles, I'm going to take you back 10 years. We're going to talk about the opportunities that are coming up. And if you really want to put your thinking cap on, I think we may have to go back to 1990 to 91 to really look at what's coming. I was
a leasing broker then, so my opportunities were a little different.
Yeah, well, it may be that your hat from the leasing broker and cajoling tenants may come into play too. We're going to talk about that. We're going to look back at the past to look in the future with my good friend Charles Foschini. Am I saying it finally right?
You know what? It's taking you about 25 years, but you got it good.
Yeah, I want you to know my team is texting me to stop calling you the wrong name because I'm just the worst. You could call me Mr. Fried for the rest of my life. It's okay. We'll be back with Charles Foschini here on the show. We're going to talk capital markets and commercial real estate in general. Text me your questions. We'll be right back. Regan, rock and roll. Remind everybody, we are South Florida's longest running business talk show, and I want to give a shout out to my friend Greg Lascotti. I'm sorry it was so hard to find us on the internet today, Craig. We're going to make sure it's easier for you next week, I promise. So see, Charles, people are fighting to hear you talk. It's tremendous.
That's just great, Jim.
That's tremendous. Greg was texting me, I can't get on, I got to go here, I got to go there. It's great. So high five to Greg for really, and Greg's one of our friends. Greg does business with us. I want to remind everybody, when you're looking to buy or lease a car, you have to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar. Up in Gainesville, they sell Audis. Down in Key West, they sell them all. What do you all have in common? Well, they're all tremendous cars, and they all come with the Warren Henry advantage. And that means that you get complimentary service loaner, dynamic wheel protection, key replacement, guaranteed purchase offer, best value guarantee, and the 72-hour exchange, which means you can bring your car in and back to them after 3 days if you don't like it. And I don't think that happens too often. So remember, they've got their new store open up at 151st in Biscayne. I was there this morning saying, hey, to all my friends, including May Stark, who runs the service line up there. She's tremendous. They've got all kinds of specials. Go see May. My mom loves her. My wife loves her. Remember, always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry. Everybody, and as I continue to do the social part of this show, I want to remind everybody to call me for capital. That's right, you can call me for capital. I've got both private lenders that are real active and real creative, and I've got the government programs that'll get your home financed for about as historically low rates. Call me, I can solve your problems on either end. 305-773-6300. One of my real estate investment banking friends just sent me one of his Israeli clients to finance 2 investment condos the guy owns. I can get it done. I know who to call. It's not going to be easy, but we'll get there. Give me a call at 305-773-6300. Helping another friend of mine that's a developer pull $500,000 out of his home. Different client, he's saving $1,500 a month on his home. Better than getting a new job. So give me a call at 305-773-6300. Why? Because when you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at JimFreed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
We're on again with Charles Foschini. Right, Regan? Get all the names wrong. I'm so sorry. I got the one lady's name right earlier today. I was proud about that. We're talking about real estate capital. We're talking about that certain types of capital are available in the market, certain types aren't. We're also going to take a look back to take a look forward. So, Charles, we're a consumer-driven economy. The consumer's been damaged and dinged. They don't have a lot of confidence. They're walking around strange. They don't understand. They got goggles on or masks on. No one can see anybody's face. Or they're not, in our very diametrically opposed, polarized society. But what's going to happen? Some people have stopped paying their mortgages. Some people have stopped paying their loans. Some people have stopped paying their rent. Other people have not. For them, a contract's a contract. So what's going to happen? Where's the relief going to come from? How's it going to flow to people? Boy, what an easy question to answer.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're a smart guy. Figure it out.
Yeah, I'm not the right guy to unpack the moral compass of society. But when you take a look at what's going on, it is very hard to read through the signs. I mean, the Dow today is about 28,000, not too far off where it was pre-pandemic. You take a look at some of the companies that sensibly, hotels, travel, tourism, got the rug ripped out from under them in February. A lot of them came roaring back much faster than you would expect. You'd make a 10-year bet on a stock like that in any other cycle, and it was a 10-day bet or 3-week bet in many cases. So you take a look at that, and you have to take a few steps back and try and think logically. We're in a medical pandemic. It's changed society worldwide, not just here, for a long period of time. We've never had this before, and we've never had it where we had access to such connectivity as we do. I mean, you were ripping through Twitter, LinkedIn, and all the different things that this is being broadcast. Imagine that magnified through the world for something as serious as a pandemic. And we're for a country of the United States, it's really built on fundamentals of freedom. It was give me liberty or give me death, not give me liberty and give me death. So for folks not wearing their mask, I struggle with that a little bit, but the different cultural norms in different societies, some of the countries have done very well with the pandemic. It's because they're used to getting locked down, because if you step outside your front door, you get shot and you're never seen again, right? So it's a little bit different than if you're millennial just trucking down Miami Beach going to see your girlfriend, and the only time you think about a pandemic is when you're on the phone with your parents or grandparents. So it's very different. And so the economy and how we're dealing with that at the moment is very different. It seems to be getting clearer that this is not a 120-day issue, that there's going to be a magical vaccine, we're all going to go back to work and everything's going to be fine. It's not. So it's going to take a while, and it's going to take some getting used to for society, and it's going to change how we do things. And the folks that'll do well and find the opportunities are the folks that either adapt very quickly to these new norms, or come up with ways of communicating and collaborating through those new norms that will create business opportunities. In a lot of cases, it's too early to tell. Most people need to ship stuff around. So in the real estate space, industrial is bound to perform and perhaps overperform. And most folks got to live somewhere. And multifamily rental is a very strong segment of our society, let alone of our real estate community. And those are going to continue. The others will adapt.
100%. I think that adaptation and flexibility are the two big words. I flipped on a dime and started helping people with residential. That's why we were meeting in those classes. I have the license. You do too. So refer me, you and Chris, refer me some deals. But you have to be flexible. I've also got incredibly flexible capital. Let's kind of shift gears into that. I've seen right after the lockdown hit, I got all the calls from all the people under 40 wanting to buy the deals. Didn't realize it's going to be 12 to 24 months for the pain to work itself through to opportunities in institutional quality real estate. They may not even come, depending on some of the rollout and some of the.
Look, in the last cycle, we saw very little distress comparatively to the S&L crisis of the cycle before, which is when you and I were getting into the business. And that's because many lenders, especially publicly traded lenders, they looked at their share price and it was easier to sell notes and quietly and painlessly get out of something very quick because their share price went up and it had nothing to do with fundamental real estate values. And then you're in a state like Florida, which is a lien theory state. If you want to give a property back, it's to take you 2 years. So the amount of distress was proportionally different than what we saw last time, and I expect it's going to be different again. There has been a shutdown in capital in the transitional space, in part because it's hard to decide if we're going to transition up or transition down and what it's going to take to get there. But in a much greater part, it's because the capital markets have not been able to execute CLOs, note sales, line of credit lenders, which were largely all the publicly traded banks. They've all pulled back. It's very easy to put out PPP money, as you talked about before, and make the arbitrage on that without putting any at-risk capital. It's very different to be a bank seeing your share price get cut in half and then go out and make construction loans in real estate. It's a very difficult time for money centers, and that's going to flow or not flow back into the commercial real estate space for a while.
Yeah, I completely agree. I call it the inability to peg what value is. If you don't know what value is, you can't do anything else on the deal. However, there are voids in the market, and let's talk about a couple. I've got incredible capital to help people on transitional deals. Let's just talk about things that can still get done, because I think people want to hear about that.
Sure. I'll tell you, we filled the void in the market. You mentioned it earlier, a deal in Sunny Isles. We had a client that had a beautiful piece of land with a couple 100-unit multifamily tower. The tower was coming up on its 50-year certification process, so it needed some very intensive capital to be put into the deal to bring it up to today's code. Tenants don't necessarily pay for that in rent, but if you don't do it, the municipality shuts you down. You can't operate a building. And we use that at the same time to look at the expanse of land, re-amenitize the site, and then develop 2 new towers. And we did that with a life company. What was unique about that was in a time where construction money had really left the room, the lender committed to not only the construction capital, but then an additional 15 years. So it was a construction perm. Very old school loan was most used most often for credit tenant deals where you knew your value of the building the day it came out of the ground. Less often used for the other real estate types. But this asset was very attractive to the lender. It took a while. We were committed pre-COVID to close the loan, which didn't mean everything went as normal. Once COVID hit, the lender really had to take a few steps back and say, hey, I'm going to be in this loan for 18 years. Am I really going to get that value? There was a COVID addition to the appraisal, which was the first and only time I've seen that in any deal I've closed in the last 120 days. And, it was a very thoughtful analysis on how long the pandemic would last, what that would do to the economy, and essentially the lease-up success of this project. And at the end of the day, it fully funded. Non-recourse construction loan, 60% loan to value of the stabilized end product, which is about $250 million in estimated value. And then there was a B piece that we could add on at stabilization if for some reason the property wound up being more than what the appraisal had thought, based on debt cover and a few other elements.
Wow, that's tremendous. Listen, we're going to take a break. We'll come back and then we'll talk about other creative capital that's available in the marketplace to help people get deals done right after this. Charles, you can stick with me?
I'll stick with you, Jim. No problems. I'm good to one.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Reagan, let's take it away, and we'll be right back with more great information that you can use today to make a deal. Everybody, I want to remind you that this is South Florida's longest running business talk show. You're with Freed on Business. I'm Jim Freed. I want to give a shout out to Greg Luscotti. I promise you, Greg, it'll be easier to find us on the internet next week. Hey, everybody, when you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Jaguar. Up in Gainesville, they sell Audi. Down in the Keys, they've got them all. What do they all have in common? Well, they're exceptional cars. And they all come with the Warren Henry advantage. That means complimentary, That means complimentary service loaner, dynamic wheel protection, key replacement, guaranteed purchase offer, best value guarantee in the 72-hour exchange. You can take 3 full days to be certain you'll love your Warren Henry vehicle. So join me, my mom, and my beautiful wife, Vivian. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best service, always the best price. Always Warren Henry.
This is Becca Carlson from Carlson Integrated. You know, a lot of our clients find that they can do anything, but not really everything. We are always excited to jump in and help. So whether you need another set of hands for a project or even comprehensive marketing management, our team of marketing mavens would love to have a conversation with you to see if we are the right fit. We do everything from logo and design work to email outreach and social media to writing and thought leadership. And here's a fun one. We are now offering our fabulous ebook of top 10 marketing tips on our website for free. So head over to carlsonintegrated.com and grab a copy today. And please always let us know how we can help. My email is Becca, that's BEKAH at carlsonintegrated.com. That's BEKAH at carlsonintegrated.com.
Becca and her team are so tremendous. Her spunky voice, man, that doesn't even tell half of the story about how tremendous it is to work with her. Hey, everybody, if I can help, give me a call. I've got creative capital for all types of deals. I've got residential mortgages I'm doing for all of my friends, everything from a $400,000 loan up to a couple of $1 million, even bigger if I can help. I've got one person got a $4 million house we're working on for them. It's creative, but it's not easy. Commercial, also creative, but not easy. You'll hear Charles and me talk about some new products that we've got on the market right now after this break, but it'll be interesting to hear. For nationals, I can finance them too. I've got a friend up in Sunny Isles. I'm financing 2 investor condos for him. So if you've got some creative capital you need, give me a call, 305-773-6300. Why? Because when you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
Yeah, the whole program distribution thing, I think, has COVID. You know, everything that you touch, it's just never going to be, never works out just perfect anymore. Never works out right. You got to just accept everything for being flexible. So sorry for the folks that are watching on Instagram. Apparently it's having a little problem today. Maybe it's getting hacked by the Russians or the Chinese, who knows. So we're here with Charles Foschini. Charles is the co-leader of the practice for commercial financing here. He's the senior managing director at Berkadia. He's one of the most creative, focused finance guys I know. We've known each other for years. I want to thank him for coming on the show as a regular. I'm going to just say as a regular. Thanks, Charles. So, you know, it's
just like SNL, I got to see how many times I get on.
Yeah, probably once a quarter at least.
Okay. All right.
No, it's for sure. You're tremendous, and your sidekick Chrissy ain't so bad either. I kind of like
Thank
him.
you.
Sometimes
Thanks. We've been working together a long time.
he's a great guy. He's a great guy. Wonderful sidekick. It's like Maverick and Goose. You're just great. I love you. I love you.
Thank you, Jim.
So, I got a call from a guy in New York last week. He goes, Jim, I've got money. I got new money, wants to come to Miami. I go, okay, fine. He goes, it's priced at 3% in, 2% out, and at 18% interest rate. I go, you're out of your mind. You'll never make a deal. Then I thought, because everybody's in here that does that kind of loan is at 2% and 10, 8.5 to 10%. I started to think, who would do this deal? What kind of deal would it be good for? Legacy deal, long-term deal, place where somebody's doing something like maybe changing land use and creating value. And I said, bam, I've got the deal. Took me about a couple of days. I found the deal. We've been in discussions. We've been kicking back term sheets. I think I'm going to solve somebody's problem with this. Then I get a call from another friend of mine. Hey, Jim, I've got this condo underneath a condo building, a commercial condo up in Palm Beach under contract. It's got this restaurant that's dark in there. I'm going to put in this fabulous tenant in there. I'm going to lower the cap from 10 to 4%. Do you have an equity player for me? I got something better than equity for you. I've got this debt. It may cost you this much percent, but you can get all the yields you want on that cap rate compression for yourself. He loved it too. So there's all kinds. This is the new capital. The capital's out there to take more risk. Why? Because there's more risk out there right now. Now, Charles, how are you seeing your investors? You do a lot of institutional stuff. Are there any, I'll call it B desks at some of these places that are going to take more risk as the economy turns?
So I would suggest that whether it's institutional or private equity, they take qualified risks. And one of the biggest issues I have with that type of money that you mentioned is not necessarily the cost of that capital, but the ability of that capital to actually translate and deliver. And that's where clients rely on me and trust me. Your clients rely on you and trust you to really understand that capital, his motivation to be in the business now, and that he's not going to get cold feet after your client goes hard on a purchase or gets an extension from his bank to refinance or whatever the situation is on the other side. The truly institutional owner, many of them took the luxury of their ability to be institutional and paused this year. And that's why you saw so many transactions just stop. Very few occurred. Your private owner, your more entrepreneurial owner, they took the same step back and said, wait a minute, I usually get beat by these institutions. Now's my chance, right? And so, and then they were supercharged by the falling cost of capital, because institutions that don't borrow money or borrow very little money, they're indifferent to falling and rising costs of capital to the extent that it doesn't juice their yield. It might help them on the sale to the next guy, but it doesn't help their fund, all right? But it's very accretive to a high net worth family office that may own a property 15 or 20 years, and they just want in. So we've been successful in quietly calling those that have pulled the property from the market or decided not to offer it and said, hey, if we really had buyer X at price Y for rationale of Z, would you transact? And when that answer is yes, we've been very successful. We've closed a big deal in Orlando that was a 1031 pre-pandemic, but they had to place the money during the pandemic. And so we had to work very hard with that. And we have a second one that's scheduled to close in about 2 weeks. And, all total, it's over 100 million in transactions in 2 deals that may not have occurred if those folks didn't have someone very focused who both sides of the table trusted to really bring that capital and get it done, and then to bring the loan capital and get it done. Nobody likes to practice.
Yes, nobody likes to practice. Nobody likes to take their time and not do something. The particular lender that I'm talking about is an individual who's been in the business for a long time, does real estate, and is moving into the market after being up in the Northeast for a long time. I've known their underwriting department, which is one person, for 25 years, and this is one person. The person's committed. They've got the capital. They're actually pushing us to close. I love it.
Good.
So, other things that are out there, you're going to start hearing the words receiverships. You're going to start hearing conservacy. But the reality is the number one word that you're going to hear is opportunity. There will be opportunity for the smart people. The place you'll need to go is the right capital source, because the right capital is what's going to make the deal happen. And I think that Charles said it best when he talked about the people that come to him look for him not just as a source, but for advice. Charles, if I'm looking to buy a deal right now, what advice would you give me?
So if someone's looking to place capital right now and it's a multifamily asset, you really have to take the opportunity to look and see how much value you can create and what your projections are. And you have to be realistic with yourself and the return that you're going to give to your investors, as well as what your expectations are from the lender. So the first thing I try and do is understand my client's objectives and then set the objectives that can transfer. If someone's looking at a commercial deal today, they have to really be cognizant that the debt expectations have changed. Yesterday, 75% loan to value on a stable deal is probably today's 65% loan to value. Life companies, even though the rates are phenomenal, most life companies have floors. CMBS lenders that weren't in the market a month ago are today in the market. There's actually a very active demand for B pieces. Some of these same institutions that are sitting on the sidelines to actually own real estate are just as happy to fit that segment of the capital stack in their pie of opportunity by owning a B piece or owning a transitional piece of an asset at a much lower point than actually putting all the last dollar of equity in. And so if those expectations are set, then we've got a plan that we can transact. And, I tell younger folks in the business, I make my money on deals I turn down. You have to be very judicious in today's economy and in today's situation, because you can really spin your wheels on deals. That's not good for my reputation. It's not good for my client's reputation. So I do try and set those expectations right up front. So we're going with eyes wide open. I'm okay to work on tough business. Gunfighters don't charge by the bullet. So I learned that early in my career too. I'll just keep reloading till I figure it out and get it done. But my client has to sit saddle with me during that process and understand how difficult it may be if it's not right up the middle. And even if it is up the middle, the amount of underwriting due diligence and questions I get on things like an org chart or whatever, which usually I would just cycle right through, are huge in this environment. And you just have to be prepared for that. Nothing is easy, and it just takes a lot of tenacity, skill, and focus to get the deals done, but they do get done.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I think that's a great place to end, actually. I want to thank Charles Foschini for coming on the show today and really laying it bare on what's going on in the capital markets. And I want to thank Kathie Klarreich for coming in and telling us what's going on behind the scenes and behind the walls. I want to thank, of course, Reagan Mendoza for making me look good. I want to thank Warren Henry Automotive Group for being a sponsor. I want to thank our first responders and our healthcare heroes out there. I want to thank Creco AI, Carlson Integrated, the NFL Alumni Association, the Berkshire Center for Real Estate Studies. I want to thank you, the listener. Go to our Facebook page. Even if Greg Lascotti isn't a member of Facebook, you can be a member of Facebook. Go to our Facebook page and like our show and tell your friends. Join our community. Give us comments. Tell us who you want to hear from. People love you, Charles. They love hearing from you. It's great.
Thank you.
Tweet at Jim Freed at Freed on Business, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, I think is where Greg actually ended up watching us today. The website, Freed on Business, gets thousands of hits each week. So if you missed today's show, Regan will have it back up on Freed on Business, hopefully today or tomorrow. This is Jim Freed for Freed on Business. Look for us next week at noon when I do some more great interviews. Why? Because I just love doing this. Remember, the person wants to do something, finds a way, the other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. Thank you so much, Charles, for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Jim. Look forward to the next one.
High five. All right. Thank you. That's it, Reagan. All yours.